Hey, everybody.
Happy Tuesday.
Thank you so much for joining. I know last week we had a lot of conversations and a lot of questions, and I know we felt bad that we didn't get through to answer everybody's questions. So it's the perfect week to do a Q&A session. So figured we would all just meet and chat about different questions that you all might have. I know there's a lot going on in our garden right now, so I imagine there's a lot going on in your gardens as well. I know for us, we're actually going through and transitioning a lot of our cool season over to warm season. So we're cleaning out the garden and putting in new plants, transplanting, and already starting to battle pests as well.
And weeds.
And weeds, yes.
Yeah.
So, yes, like I said, today it's going to be just a super fun, informal chat about gardening. So, if you guys have any questions at all, please pop them into the chat or just pop in the chat and say hi. We'd love to see you guys and see where y'all are from. I see we have a couple people from North Carolina already. Nice. Oh, Michelle and Wendy, you guys are both from North Carolina. Awesome. Hey, guys. Thanks for joining again. Oh, hi from Nashville. Awesome. And Arkansas. Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining. A little bit everywhere. It's exciting.
Like Carrie said, we don't have a topic prepared for today. We're going to be answering your questions. So it's going to be real awkward for us if you don't ask any questions. So please drop your questions in the chat, whatever you have related to gardening, related to the app. We do have some stuff to talk about with the app again. So if you've missed our past couple live streams, we've shown a new feature that we are working on. And it's going really well. We feel like we're going to be able to release it within hopefully the next week or so. But let me share my screen here and show you what we've been working on.
And just to let you all know, if you don't already know, we're in Oklahoma, so we're in Zone 7.
Yeah. So. And if you aren't familiar with our app, this is the web version I'm showing here. This is at app.seedtospoon.net, but it's available on iOS, Android. It's called Seed to Spoon, and it guides you through how to grow hundreds of foods. And the new feature that we just added allows you to identify a plant. I think it's going to show my camera. Hello. But you can upload a photo. You can identify a plant. You can get help with your plant. You can identify bugs. This is a new feature with Growbot that we've been working on for pretty much all of this month. We have in the hands of many of you. I see in the chat. I've been testing it. Wendy's sent us a ton of great feedback on it.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Wendy. We really appreciate you, and everyone that's been helping us.
Yeah, everybody has been super helpful.
So, if you would like to test it out and have the ability to take pictures of your plants or pests to see what they are, send us an email. Got to pull it up one moment here. Email us at info@seedtospoon.net. And if you are, now one caveat is you need to be a premium subscriber because this is going to be a premium feature. But if you are a premium subscriber, or if you win the contest today and become a premium subscriber, email us at info@seedtospoon.net and we will get you set up with it.
And I will say we didn't say that we were doing a giveaway. I know if you are a repeat, like if you're here every week, you already know we're doing a giveaway. But in case you are new here, welcome. But we are going to be doing a giveaway for a free premium 1-year subscription for the From Seed to Spoon app. So that'll be at the very end. We will announce that winner.
All right, we got a question here from Wendy.
Oh.
So, struggling to get pepper seeds to germinate this year. And direct sowing. Some need packets, some collected.
Okay, so she put out her biodome transplants a little early. Yeah, I have a difficult time germinating whenever it's direct seeding outside. For
especially tomatoes. For peppers. Wendy, you're in Idaho, right?
No, she said up here that she was in North Carolina.
North Carolina, okay. So it's probably getting to the point where the temperatures are going to be warm enough. It's going to be a lot faster, though, to germinate those indoors still. Like, even still, if I were wanting to grow more peppers, I would germinate them indoors under a biodome and then move them out.
Yeah, I would definitely be doing that.
Now, tomatoes, like, we've had good luck with, like, self-seeding or seeding tomatoes. this time of year. But really, we learned that because we had so many volunteer tomatoes coming up, and that was kind of where the idea came from. Well, why don't we just try that? So it works with tomatoes, but with peppers, we always are going to be starting those inside. So
it's just so much easier, especially right now. I mean, the soil might not be quite warm enough. So
Michelle's in Idaho, isn't she?
No, she said the same. She said,
"Who's in Idaho? Someone, yeah, Southwest Idaho. See,
right there." Michelle,
are there two Michelle C's?
Oh,
what is going on here? We see two different comments. Huh?
Okay, Michelle, where are you?
Help us sort this out. We've been talking to two different Michelle C's this whole time.
I don't know.
We had no idea.
No, I don't know. I think maybe she's lived both places, so she knows the weather in both places.
Well, one of the Michelle C's, if there are two, has a question about Swiss chard. We do grow it through the summer, but it doesn't taste. So all of these greens that survive the summer typically lose their taste in the summer. They get real bitter. So, mustard, kale survive the summer, collard greens, all those things. And then pretty much you have to cook them at that point. They're not great fresh. But we are going to be experimenting with having chard in a patio area, in our sunroom here. We're growing some chard. Spider mites are kicking our butt in there, though.
Yes.
It's one thing we've really learned through trying to grow indoors is we have to be much more vigilant with things like insect sprays and things of that nature, because we really don't use very much of that outside. We rely on things like ladybugs to help us out. Mm-hmm. So we plant a lot of flowers and things that encourage ladybugs and the other bugs that help us out. And we don't really do much in the form of pest control, aside from insect netting. I think that's big too. But growing indoors this year, this is the most we've ever grown indoors, has really been a learning experience for us, because there's a lot more we have to do as far as keeping track of pests and spraying them and doing all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And then also with, the tomatoes, having to hand pollinate them and do that kind of stuff. So maybe we'll get some questions about indoor growing. We'll talk more about that. Let's look at some of these other questions we got, though. So a yarrow plant that's getting eaten by bugs.
Ooh.
Yarrow is typically one of the things.
I know. I was going to say, yarrow's usually one that's supposed to help.
This may be one of the reasons why yarrow helps, is it attracts some of the bugs that are.
Yeah, I was just pulling it up. I was like, let me look. Let's see what
I'm still sharing my screen. I already have Growbot up. I didn't realize I was still sharing. So let's go ask. We've got Growbot right here. So my yarrow is getting eaten up. What can I plant? It's so hard to type when people are watching you.
Everybody stare at him and watch him.
Garlic makes sense. Marigolds make sense. So, yeah.
Lavender. I love lavender too. Yeah. Nice.
We'll leave Growbot up here in case we get more questions. We'll make it smaller though, so y'all can see us too. Okay. So another question here. We're having lots of ants, and I suspect that munching on my sweet potato leaves. Oh, another question about companions for sweet potatoes. Do you remember off the top of your head companions for sweet potatoes?
Beans. Because we did that this year.
Let me go into the app here. So we could ask Growbot, but we do have a feature of the app that is this companions feature right here that shows you the different companions for sweet potatoes. So if I were looking for things to help with bugs, I would be looking at thyme, oregano, summer savory,
marigolds,
marjoram, dill. Pretty much just said everything on that list.
Yeah.
All the herbs are going to be the ones that are going to help you with pests for sweet potatoes. So, and like she said, we also, with our sweet potatoes, we planted beans around them. But that was more so to help with bringing nitrogen
into the soil, make the soil healthier.
Okay, question here. Cabbage and broccoli plants, they were great inside and then took them outside and they wilted. Okay, so what may have happened here is when you take plants outside for the first time, you've got to kind of wean them from being inside. So that first day that we take plants out, we'll only take them out for 3 or 4 hours, and it'll be in the shade. And then the next day, we'll take them out for 3 or 4 hours, but maybe 2 hours of that is in the sunlight. And then maybe the third day, 3 hours or 4 hours all in the sun. You get what I'm saying. You just gradually increase their exposure to the biggest thing is going to be the sun, because like they're basically going to get sunburned. Like it's equivalent to taking a newborn baby and just sticking it outside, for all day in the sun. Even if it's not super hot outside, it's going to get sunburned because it hasn't built up a resistance to the UV. So that's the main thing that's probably going on there. You could, if you've already planted them, like you could put some sort of a shade cloth over them, like just build some sort of thing to hold it over, the shade cloth over. Make sure you're watering them really well when you put them out too. Whenever we transplant something, we're going to be making sure that we're watering, every single day for the first 5 or 6 days until it's really established, and then we'll back off. But that's probably what's going on there.
Yeah, the biggest thing is just next time, just to go through that process of hardening off for like at least a week or so, just to make sure that your transplants are ready for where they're going to be.
One thing that we also do with our cabbage and broccoli is we will start way more than we think we're going to need, because we'll plant them out in waves. Like we had probably 4 or 5 waves of broccoli going out this spring, and 2 of those waves didn't go well because of random weather or whatever happened. But it was fine because we had so many other waves that we planted out. So don't plant like all of your stuff on the same day. Like phase it out, and also make sure you're hardening it off too.
Yeah, that's why succession planting is so important.
Yep. Okay, question here from Josh. Carrots that overwintered. So carrots are biennial plants, so they live for 2 years and then go to seed. If they've overwintered, if you harvest them like real early in the spring, they'll still be good. But by now, if you pull those carrots, they're going to have roots growing out for all across the carrot. It's probably not going to taste very good. I mean, you could try it. Let me know. I could be wrong here, but I'm betting that by this point in the season, it's pretty well established and it's rooted out and it's done all that, and it's not going to be good. But one strategy that we do use is to grow carrots in the fall and then leave them in the ground over the winter.
Yeah, just pull them like almost as we need it. So it's almost like they're in a refrigerator. It's kind of cool.
But usually like we're pulling all those by January or February and then starting our new round of carrots around that same time, like the end of February is when we're starting them here. Question here from Daniel. We were just in Colorado. We just got back from Denver. Took a quick trip out there for the weekend. So many people garden in their front yards. It was so cool. We were walking around the downtown area, and there
was a lot of rhubarb.
Yes. Rhubarb is big in Denver.
Yeah.
And then what was that flower we saw? That lily. It was like a daylily, purple daylily.
Yeah. I saw that everywhere.
Went to the botanical gardens up there though. That was really cool.
Yeah.
We love going to the botanical gardens when we travel. Went to Atlanta about a month ago. Check those out. It always gives us inspiration. Okay, let's talk about Danielle's question now. So, can bring in vegetables inside and then plant them outside the next year? Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's some people that keep peppers alive for years because peppers are perennials as long as they don't get too cold. So they'll bring their pepper plants in over the winter, and then take them back out. So you could do that. And then that's why things like smart pots are so great. If here's a tiny smart pot here, so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is a tiny 1 gallon, but we have these all the way up to 100 gallons. This is one we're growing a little baby tomato here in the kitchen. See, check it out. So we have all of our peppers are planted in those smart pots, and we'll start moving them out. In April, we'll have days that are nice outside that we can get them outside for a few hours. We just got to make sure we bring them in at night. But then, our peppers are outside if it's above 55 degrees. And if it's under that, they're inside. It doesn't really matter what time of year it is. We're just going to bring them in the winter. All right. Question from Kim. What are some companion flowers for watermelon and cucumbers? I'm going to pull, see, just doing up again. Do you remember off the top of your head any?
I feel like marigolds go with everything, right? It's always my go-to.
So echinacea, milkweed, alyssum, petunias, sunflowers. Yeah, sunflowers especially are going to work really well with watermelon.
Nasturtiums.
Nasturtiums.
And of course, marigolds.
Chives go to flower, and the flowers taste really good.
Yes. Oh, the chive flowers are gorgeous. They're these beautiful, like purple, like round balls. They're so pretty. I love them.
And the features I'm showing here are completely free features of the Seed to Spoon app. Everything in here for companions and care details and planting dates that are calculated based on your nearest weather station and health benefits, and all this is completely free. That's all in the free version of the app. So if you want to check any of that out, it's all right there. Okay, into my window again. Pull up our next question. Okay, Chrissy. I'm trying to start a medicinal garden with seeds, and I'm not sure if it's too late already or not. So this is going to depend on what seeds you're going with. Again, our app will show you the planting dates that are calculated for you. And we actually have a medicinal garden set up in the app as a theme. So if I go into this dashboard and then I go down to this garden theme section, there is a medicinal in here.
It's in there somewhere. I was just looking at it the other day.
So lavender is not going to be something you're really going to start from seed typically. You can, but it takes a very long time to grow. So it's typically bought as a transplant or as a cutting from someone else. Basil, yeah, you can start that from seed pretty much everywhere in the country unless it's still really cold. But I think most everywhere it's warm enough now. Basil does great from seed. Sage is another one that you're not going to really start from seed. You're going to buy as a transplant. Same with thyme. Same with mint. Chamomile, you could probably start that from seed now. Yeah. Oregano is another one you're not going to be starting from seed. Again, you can start these from seed. We're doing it now, but like we have plants that are 6 months old and they're this big. And it's going to take years for them to get the size that you see when you buy them as transplants or something like that. And then garlic. Garlic, you're going to wait till the end of the year to plant that. That's a fall planted crop that grows over the winter or it overwinters and then grows in the early spring and then.
And there's a lot of other plants that you can add. Those are just some of our ideas for a medicinal garden.
Yeah.
But yeah, just check the dates in the app and see. I always just say go for it, try it out.
Great question here from Tesla. So what is better, worm castings or compost? What is the difference? What's better to use? Okay, so compost is typically made from combining a bunch of natural ingredients together, basically carbon and nitrogen, and then different like food scraps, wood chips, leaves, coffee grounds. There's all sorts of stuff you can throw together in a big pile. And through natural processes, it turns into this black gold is what it's called. It looks kind of like dirt, but it's just pure compost is what that's called. And it's made up of a variety of minerals and nutrients and things that plants love. And it's something we use as a key part of our soil mix. So we make our own soil mix. It's 1/3 of that mix. We love compost. Worm castings it's worm poop, basically. To boil it down, that's what it is. What people have or what we have is like a little worm farm is what it's called, where we feed the worms and then they poop and then we harvest the poop. And that worm poop is really good for your plants. It's different than compost. It's actually better for your plants than compost in a number of ways, though, because it actually contains growth hormones for plants. It's also something that's pretty safe to use like inside if you don't want to be dealing with like having gnats and stuff like that tend to gravitate towards compost. Worm castings aren't going to have that kind of issue as much. They're great to use in seed starting. So that's typically how we've used them the most is in our seed starting mix. We'll put some worm castings in there and then that'll give our plants a little bit of nutrients too and the growth hormones that help them get along. So both are things that we use in our garden. They're both awesome. If I had to pick one, it would be worm castings, but it's hard to get a lot of it. We did find this guy that was selling worm castings by the trash bag on Craigslist once. That was pretty awesome, pretty but I'm not sure if he's still in business. I'll have to see if the worm guy is still around. Because it does take a lot of worms and a lot of work to get a little amount of castings. This guy had a whole operation going in his garage. He had like 30 or 40 big totes set up. It was a whole thing. So I hope he's still in business. We need to find the worm guy. How to protect your plants from earwigs.
So I will say earwigs aren't necessarily a bad thing. They more are going to be attacking things that are decomposing. So if you have diseased plants or maybe like a strawberry that is mushy or tomato mushy, things like that, you might have problems with the earwigs. But earwigs, if you're having problems with them, a really easy thing that you can do is you can lay down newspaper overnight and moisten it. And then in the morning, whenever you open it up, you'll see a whole bunch of earwigs and then you can attack them from there. But that's a really easy way to get them all like in one spot.
Yeah, but they're kind of like pill bugs, like roly-polies.
Yeah.
You may see them in your garden, but it doesn't mean they're attacking your live plants. They're usually there to help break down the stuff that's dead or decaying or that type of stuff.
They definitely look creepy too, for sure. I don't like them at all. I see them and I'm like, ooh, I know that they're not going to get me, but still, like, they look menacing.
All right. Rabbits and woodchucks. The number one thing I can say is probably a motion activated sprinkler. I don't know how feasible that's going to be a community garden though. I could see a lot of innocent people getting sprayed with water that don't know it's set up.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I would totally do that. That sounds good. If you have, if the raised beds are at least 2 feet tall, that will keep rabbits out. Woodchucks can be a little more difficult, but they're typically going to be going after at least, we don't necessarily fight woodchucks here, but we fight animals that are in the same family. And typically they're going after are things that are fruiting. So they're not necessarily pepper plants. They do like pepper plants, like they'll eat those whole. But typically, it's going to be like our watermelon, like the day before I'm ready to harvest, is when they're going to attack that, or cantaloupe, or things like that. So those, like, we'll just put that in cages, like put the cantaloupe inside of a cage, protect it, or something like that. But the motion activated sprinkler is the biggest thing I would suggest. You just have to check and see if everyone's cool with that.
I would also say like blood meal, bone meal, things like that will also help with small things like that.
So a Facebook reel saying to place rubber snakes in your garden. I bet it'd work. You probably have to move it though. Because it's kind of like the fake owls.
I was just about to say it's probably very similar to that.
Yeah. It works, but you got to move them around, every day.
They'll catch on.
Yeah. We need a drone snake in the garden that can go to scare away all the rabbits.
I bet the kids would do like a robot snake and they would like have fun like driving it around.
I need an automated
slithering around.
I need a Grobot powered snake. Grobot go snake in the garden. Hey, we're probably not far from that. I mean, things are advancing quickly in the world of technology. I need my robot snake. Okay. We're putting chicken wire at the bottom of our fenced area, and we're using... I'm not sure what this is talking about. I'm sorry.
Heart traps.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure what that is. Best way to thin down calendula sprouts. We bought some surgical scissors that we use for thinning. I really like them. I think I got them on Amazon. They're like super heavy duty, and they're just like, I love those little scissors. That's my favorite way to thin stuff out, is just to go through and do that. If you try and pull them out or whatever, it can damage the roots of the stuff around it. So I wouldn't do that. Just chop them and get them out of there. Okay, so planted some winter squash, and the flowers were open, and now they have withered. What does that mean? Okay, so if they were the first flowers that came on the plant, they are probably male flowers. And if they're withering, it may mean that they're done now. That, the bee came along, got the pollen, and then the male flower doesn't have to do its job anymore. If it's a female flower, then there should be a little tiny fruit at the base of the plant before the flower. And then the flowers will wither and fall for that, but then you'll have a fruit that develops. So that's probably what's going on there.
Like I said, too, if you guys have any questions at all, please put them in the chat. And then at the end, we're going to be drawing a random winner from somebody who has commented to get a free 1-year premium from Seed to Spoon access. It's exciting.
Okay, so we got a question about the biodome.
Great.
Planted peppers and watermelon. They never really got big. And then planted them 2 months early. At what point should you pot them up? So peppers are not going to grow very fast. They can live in the biodome for a while. They're not like tomatoes. Tomatoes, you got to get potted up pretty quick. The way that you know is just basically pull out one of the sponges, and if you see roots that are poking out all along the sides, then it's ready to go into a larger pot. We actually made the mistake of potting our jalapenos up into too large of pots, I feel like, this year. Mm-hmm. We put them into these little 1-gallon Smart Pot transplanters, and it was overkill because they were in there for at least 2 months, and they never really took up that entire area. We would have been fine just putting them in 4-inch pots. So
now the tomatoes needed that.
Yeah. And watermelon.
And I bet your watermelon probably would too.
Yeah. Now, I will mention watermelon is one of the things we don't typically start indoors. It grows really fast and easy outside and typically does better if you just plant it and just put the seed directly in the ground outside. So you can still try transplanting it. Make sure you're hardening it off and doing all that. But you can also just stick a seed in the ground too, and that may end up doing better. That's typically what we've found in the past is when we do try and start them indoors and we transplant them out and we'll also put a seed in the ground at the same time, that seed blows away the transplant within a few weeks.
We did that with our loofah, and he won.
If you've been following our loofah,
I have to start the loofah inside.
She got so excited about loofah. I was like, okay, we'll start a couple. And then
the seeds are doing better. You won.
Well, winter squash and cucumbers, watermelon, like summer squash and watermelon, all of those are all going to be things that we just start directly from seed outside. We don't go through the trouble of starting them indoors because they just never seem to do as well.
I just get too excited though. So I understand.
Great question here about espoma. So yes, we use the tomato fertilizer for tomatoes and peppers because it has extra calcium in it. Other than that, we pretty much use Garden Tone for everything else.
There's also a flower booster, bulb booster when we planted our bulbs.
Yeah.
We have the, there's so many different ones. We have all of them, but the Garden Tone is the one we use most.
Yeah.
And the tomato tone.
Yeah. There are specific ones for everything, but the Garden Tone will pretty much get it done, which is for the tomatoes and peppers. We like to have a little bit of extra in there for that. Question here about the app. Is there a way to plan a physical layout of the garden? It is not something we have right now. It's something we've wanted to build from the beginning and something we actually had a conversation about as a team last week on how we're going to do it. Definitely something we want to do. And I think that there's some really cool opportunities to combine AI with this to do some auto generation of sorts. And that's the path we'd like to go down. I don't necessarily want to build like a full-fledged garden mapping. I don't think we're going to go overkill on building out something like that. But I do think that having something that lets you plan your garden, see what goes next to each other, what pairings work well. If you have an open spot in your garden, recommends different things you should put there, helps you keep track of succession planting, like visually, all of that, I think would be incredibly useful. And I think that's what we're going to hopefully build by the end of the year. That's what we have some other things we're working on now. We're finishing up a new feature that lets you take a picture of a seed packet to add it into the plant, to add it into the app. We have some other really cool stuff that we're working on. We're going to be releasing a new store here within a few weeks that has every product from Park Seed. Up until now, it's only been like hand-picked products and
just only the plants that we have in the app.
So
now it'll be everything.
So we have a couple other things we're working on, but that is on our list for this year of something that we want to tackle. And if you have specific ideas on features you'd like to see on that, we'd love to hear it. So send it in to info@seedtospoon.net. I know someone sent an email last week that had some really good ideas and feedback on this exact feature, and we talked about it as a team, and that input's going to go into how we build it. So as we get closer to it, we'll probably do a live stream where we just talk about it and show what we're working on. I want to start doing that more, getting some feedback on things before we release them. That's kind of what we're doing with the new Growbot right now, where a lot of people in the chat right now have access to it. And if you want to have access to it, if you're on premiums, email us at info@seedtospoon.net. But that's how we'd like to start rolling features out a little more as we continue to build more stuff. Have we harvested any garlic yet? I am sad to admit, we didn't even plant garlic. We did not have our gardens ready.
Well, yeah, we were in the process of still building our gardens because we just moved this last year, and we were building a new garden area. And yeah, last fall we like barely had anything in the ground.
Yeah.
And then over the winter, like he was busy building so much. But yeah, this spring was really whenever this garden started taking off and we got everything in.
Yeah. So next year though, we will definitely have a ton of garlic. I have the bed built for it now. It's sitting there waiting for it. So we'll be ready. Can your plants diseases from bone meal? No, I've never heard of any issues coming from bone meal that came like from animals. I mean especially if you're buying it from a store, like that's going through. I haven't seen the process, but I'm willing to bet it's going through a lot of sterilization and all sorts of stuff like that.
Probably, yeah.
We haven't made our own bone meal yet. I haven't.
No, it's not something that we've done.
One of the few things we haven't made. We made our own fish fertilizer.
I was just about to say, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty gross. I think we're just gonna get it from the bottle from now on.
Yeah, but it was an experience.
Okay, how do I see if my soil outside is fine for my plants? Okay, so you can actually test your soil pretty easily with a pee test. So this is how we test our compost to see, like when we buy compost from a third party, we'll test it to make sure that there's no contaminants in it because we got burned once by not doing that. And basically you just take seed mix, like potting mix from the store, and mix half and half with the soil, and then take another container. You can just do like a little solo cup for this. It doesn't have to be a big container, a little 4-inch pot. And do the other one with just the seed mix. You plant 3 pea seeds in each one. And then at the end of 21 days, you'll see if their plants look identical, then it's fine. If you see problems with the one that had the soil in it, then that could mean that there's an indicator. So in my case, when we did this test in the past, there was aminopyrrolid in our soil, which was an herbicide that was left over from horses that were grazing on fields that were sprayed with this. It went through their bodies, made it into the compost, and directly to my tomato. And the way that we discovered that was the pea leaves after like 10 to 11 days started to like twist and curl, and that told us, okay, there's probably herbicide in here. So finding holes in raised bed soil. What could that be? I think you've got it, voles. That's typically what that is. Yeah. We've used mouse traps in the past, and that's worked. They can be tough though. You can also line the bottom of your raised bed with like hardware mesh or something like that, and that'll help. But they can be tough. Mouse traps work on them though.
Ooh, sweet potatoes. Do I need to wait for the slips to have roots before I plant them? Or do I plant them right after removing them from the mother potato?
We have always let them develop roots. So when we remove them from the mother potato, we'll put them in water, let them develop roots, and then transplant them out. Not to say it wouldn't work the other way. That's just how we've always done it. Let us know in the chat. Maybe you've done a different way and it's worked, but that's how we've always done it.
10-gallon smart pot for growing pomegranate, a dwarf variety. Yeah, so we grow a lot of we haven't ever grown pomegranate, but we've grown like limes, lemons, figs, all sorts of other types of smaller trees. I think a 10-gallon would work anywhere between like a 10 to 20, probably 25.
If I were starting a tree from seed, I would probably just start the seed directly in the smart pot. Especially this time of year.
Yeah.
And just put it outside and keep it watered and put it in the sun. I wouldn't necessarily bring a biodome into it because, well, I doubt you're starting,
A bunch of
32
them. Yeah.
pomegranate and you're gonna have different timings of sprouting and all stuff, sort of stuff like that. Okay, I have my beds directly in soil, no raised bed. No, if that works for you, if you have soil, if you have good soil where you are, then you don't necessarily have to build raised beds.
That's amazing.
The biggest reasons why we build raised beds is number one, our soil isn't necessarily great here. There's also a ton of we're on 5 acres, and if we take a month off from mowing, it's a jungle. Like there's just so many weeds and just random stuff around. So we basically had to completely scalp. Like we cleared off an area, completely scalped the entire ground, and then laid down like black weed cloth, and then put wood chips and built raised beds on top of that, so we could have a buffer. Because we tried to do like how you're growing.
We tried doing that last year, and it was
we
a
failed
nightmare.
miserably.
I mean, the weeds just took over so fast.
One summer vacation ruined it. Like we went to Florida for a week and then came back in our garden.
It wasn't even a week, and it was.
Yeah. The biggest reason also too is like with flooding. So raised beds handle flooding events better. If you have good drainage and all that, then you don't have to worry about it. But that's another reason why people will typically do raised beds. But you don't have to do raised beds at all.
Yeah, if it's working for you, that's great. Go for it.
It's going to save you some money too.
Yeah.
And like another thing about growing directly in the ground too is you're going to have better success with things that have to be overwintered because they're better insulated from the earth. I mean, there's benefits to doing it for sure. Yeah, she keeps working it every year and it gets better. That's awesome. I'm jealous.
Yeah, I know. Maybe one day we'll get there.
I don't know if we're ever going to be that good at gardening. We're always just going to cheat and do raised beds and smart pots.
Makes it easier for us at least.
Okay, multiple dark spots on mint leaves.
Ooh. That might be a Growbot question.
Yeah. If you don't have the new Growbot already, let us know. Email us. We'll get it. We'll get it to you. And then you could upload that picture, and it'll tell you. Because we've never had problems with our mint. It's always been great.
Mint has been amazing. Hey, for the person who had voles, mint helps to repel them.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe plant some mint.
All right. I love this comment because this is actually a feature that so I mentioned the feature that we're working on that lets you take a picture of a seed packet and log that as a plant. That's the first wave of what we want to do with this, and what we want to build is exactly what you're describing here. So basically the way it would work is you could take a picture of the seed packet or enter it manually, add it to a seed library part of the app, and then it's going to be like let me share my screen, and I think I can explain how this is going to work. So in my gardens, right now we have growing and tasks and notes and archive right up here, right? We're going to add a new tab that's like library. If there's a better word for that, like we spent way too much time trying to figure out the word on this. If there's a better word for that, let us know. But seed library is kind of what we're on right now. And it would let you add your seeds into there so you can see what all you have packs for. And then you can just tap on that and say add to garden or move it over to your garden. And so yes, this is high on our list. We're going to get the scan the seed packet feature out first, and then we will add this in. But this is high on our list of things to build. And if you have more ideas on how you'd want this to work or what kind of features you'd like to see in it, please email us, info@seedtospoon.net. Leave the comments in here too. I'll see that also. But definitely something we want to do.
Yeah, I love just being able to pull up and remember what seeds I have, because sometimes I forget. I'm like, oh, did I order this variety? And I think it'll be so helpful. And we have some suggestions. Seed bank. I like it.
Seed bank. Yeah.
And then seed vault. I like it.
I think I like seed vault.
And then inventory. Yeah. These are all great.
We should just start. You know how much time we spend like wrestling over feature names and stuff? We should just start doing this.
I
Just
know.
every
We need to have
Tuesday.
you guys come up with it.
Crowdsource it. Okay. Question here. So there's two reasons why bell peppers and sweet peppers are not good companions. One is cross-pollination. Two is that the same pests and diseases attack both. So one of the reasons why something may not be a good companion to another is because you want to keep them away from each other so that pests and diseases have a hard time going from one plant to the other. So those are the biggest reasons why we try. Now we'll still have like, if I have a 4x8 raised beds, I may have 6 peppers in there, but I have a bunch of stuff scattered in between. Like we use things like basil and
I was gonna say we have lots of herbs and marigolds, nasturtiums,
like scattered all between all of that as a buffer. And one of the reasons is because pests find what they're looking for through their sense of smell. So if you have a bunch of basil as a barrier, then it's hard for them to find the next pepper plant because all they can smell is basil, basically, is what's going on there. All right, best time for tomatoes and jalapenos to be fertilized. So we fertilize both at the time of planting, and we put like a scoop of fertilizer of espoma right in the hole with the tomato. And then typically we do every 3 weeks with like a nitrogen heavy fertilizer until it starts to develop fruit. And then we switch over to like more of a balance espoma. I can't tell you the specifics on 10-10-10 on how that's going to be long term because I use espoma or I use fish fertilizer. That's pretty much. I don't really go much farther on that on different ratios and stuff. Hopefully that helps though. Powdery mildew.
Okay, so yeah, powdery mildew is pretty easy. Well, to prevent. Okay, so to prevent, the biggest thing that you will want to do is try and water in the morning, first of all, instead of the evening, because having the leaves moist overnight will definitely not be helpful for that. But if you do have powdery mildew, a really simple treatment is just making a water and milk mixture and putting it into a spray bottle and just spraying the leaves. It'll help and it'll get it away real quick. So that's what I always do is just make a little milk mixture and help with that.
Can't believe it's already 12:45 already.
Wow.
Things fly by.
They really do.
Thank you for asking a bunch of questions. Like I said in the beginning, it's going to be awkward if you didn't ask any questions. So, thank you. Yes. So I believe it's still right there on the dashboard. Let me pull this up. So in the app, if you go to this home tab and you go to the bottom, it's not going to load for me because of I'm on the web app, but this getting started tab, the very first thing in there, I'm pretty sure is a recording of
Let me make sure.
of one of these that we did a few months ago where we just went through and showed how to use the app. Carrie is verified. Yep.
There it is. Yes.
Y'all see that? Cool. So under getting started, that first thing right there is a recording from a few months ago on how to use our app. We probably need to do another one. I don't think we've added too much, especially once we release the new robot. Yeah, we need to add that. Hopefully that helps out. And Carrie has also recorded a bunch of like one-off videos too, showing how to use different features of the app. Do we have like a collection on YouTube or something for that? Or?
I think so. Again, that's something I'm going to have to verify, but I'm pretty sure we do. I have all of that.
Great question here. How do you keep the herbs from taking over? Okay, so depending on what it is, mint we do not plant in a raised bed with other stuff because it will just completely take over. So we're not going to be planting mint like that. Basil doesn't take over, so it's safe. Like it just grows. It's not like the other ones. Thyme we'll usually put on like the corner of a raised bed on the side, so it'll trail over the side, and it doesn't take over too aggressively. Like
And it's beautiful though.
It's going to get pretty big after
goes,
3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it'll just go off to the side.
Sage turns into a giant bush. So that's one that we're probably not going to put in a raised bed unless we plan to harvest it regularly.
Yeah.
And that's another one of the things is harvest them a lot. And that'll keep them from taking over. We use a lot of these herbs in cooking. Pretty much every meal that we have has one of these herbs in it, or a mixture of them. It's one of the big reasons that we got into gardening was because we were paying like $5 a package for like a tiny little thing of basil at the grocery store.
Seems ridiculous.
And then when we started growing the herbs ourselves, it was like, oh my gosh, we're saving so much money, and there's like 20 types of basil, so we can change up the flavor day to day. And yeah, hopefully that helps out. But pretty much mint is the only one that we're not going to put directly in a raised bed. And then sage and rosemary can get big if you let them, but if you just keep them harvested, then they're not going to get too big. They're not going to spread though, like mint does. Powdery mildew, can you spray? I don't think we've ever. You might be able to, but the milk thing works so well that we've never had to.
I know. I've never had to do anything besides the milk, water. And we always have milk. I mean, the kids drink a lot of milk, so we always have that on hand. So it's super easy.
Yellow moths. Do you know what the yellow moth would be?
I know about white moths.
Well, all moths are handled the same way, pretty much. Now, some of these moths and butterflies, obviously, we don't mind them being around. Like, they're beautiful, and we like having them around, and they help pollinate, and they do all sorts of stuff. So when the swallowtail caterpillar attacks our parsley, I'm going to let it eat it because we like having them around. But some of the moths, like the white cabbage butterfly, which I guess technically it's a butterfly, but still, like the cabbage and the broccoli caterpillars, for those, we'll use this product called BTK. That's a naturally occurring soil bacteria. If you search for caterpillar killer on our website, I think that's on there. It's also just if you go to the pest section in our app and go to caterpillars, which I still have the app pulled up. So go here and cabbage loopers, and it's right here. This BT worm caterpillar spray right there. All right. We've got 10 minutes left. Let's do a couple more questions, and then we will announce a winner.
Find a winner.
Yeah. How late in the season can I plant okra in Zone 9, Texas? Okay, the app will give you exact planting dates based on where you are. Okra, how many days is okra? It's longer. I think it's closer to 90.
Well, the app will say.
Okay, we're going to pull it up. One moment.
Let's see how many days.
So here in Oklahoma, our last date to plant it is going to be
August 12th is what it says.
Yeah, so
here.
60 days. So you pretty much have all the way up until, I would imagine, mid-August for where you are.
At least. And probably more.
Yeah.
But again, that's 7.
Download the app because that's the first reason why we made the app.
Yes. I didn't want to have to do this math anymore.
Squash vine borers. Yes, they are.
Yes. You and me both. Yes. I feel you. I hate those things.
You want to give a few quick tips on how we handle them?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I can tell you is whenever it is really young and immature, try and protect that stem as much as you can. One thing you can do is wrap the base of it with some, oh my gosh.
Aluminum foil?
Yes, thank you. My mind left me. Aluminum foil. And that way they can't bore into that vine and lay their eggs. And so that'll help to protect it a lot by simply doing that. That's probably the biggest thing that I can say. If you catch it after the fact, there are a few things you can do. I know we've done before, injections of BTK, in the stem, or you can do some surgery. We've done surgery before on our plants. That was fun, but you have to catch it early if you see that. So that's definitely needed. Oh, best way to get rid of aphids inside. So I will say we did go through a lot of issues with aphids this year, especially on our peppers inside in our garage, because we left our garage door open and they found their way in, of course, like they always do. But the best thing to do, like what we did, we just had a spray bottle and we just started spraying each one of them. You can do that if just by simply knocking off the aphids will help. You can also get there are a lot of organic sprays that you can spray as well. But a lot of the times we find just taking like a spray bottle or a hose if you are outside. I know this is inside, but just spraying the leaves off will help a lot.
We had a pretty bad aphid infestation on some of our peppers about a month ago, and I did end up spraying some basically insect soap on them, and it made a big difference. It pretty much got rid of them. So
yeah, luckily they are one that there's a lot of easy fixes for. I know, but they can do a lot of damage if you don't catch it in time. But there's a lot of easy fixes once you see it.
Yeah, if you don't have ladybugs living with you, then you're definitely going to handle it. All right, let's announce our winner, and then we will come back and answer some more questions. So, congratulations, designed by Gigi.
Yay, congratulations.
You win a 1 year of premium access to our app. That includes unlimited questions with Growbot, including the new feature that lets you take a picture of the problem, and it'll help you with that. So we'll get you set up with that as well. You can log unlimited plants. You get free shipping on all of your orders through our Park Seed store as well. So,
and pretty soon that'll include everything.
Yep.
Too. That's exciting.
So
so send me an email at info@seedspoon.net and I'll get you set up.
All right, let's grab some more questions. Do we use a weed barrier in our garden? So we never used it until this year. In the past, we had just used cardboard and wood chips. But we had a pretty large area that we needed to block off this year. And we did end up getting weed barrier for the first time. Now, I'd used it a long time ago, and I had a really bad experience with it, just like the cheap stuff from the store. So we did not get that. We actually bought the horticultural, professional grade weed cloth that my farmer friends use. I asked, I saw them post on Facebook about it. And I said, which one did you get? And then I got that one. And it's super heavy duty, made for some pretty intense farming. So that's what we got. And then we put wood chips on top of it. If you're on a smaller scale, I would still say cardboard's the way to go. The amount of space I needed to cover, it would have taken me a long time to find enough cardboard, and I did not have very much time to build it. So that's why we did what we did.
Yeah, whenever we first started out, we started with a couple raised beds, and then we gradually worked our way and expanded. So we just collected cardboard as we got it. But yeah, building one huge garden at one time made it so we needed to use this.
Yeah, but for a normal backyard, I would just do cardboard.
Yeah,
and post on Facebook if any of your friends get a new TV, moved. Save your box, if you buy a new fridge, that type of thing. We just would post that every few months on Facebook, and we'd have people, save that stuff for us, and we'd go collect it, and we've covered our entire backyard. But cardboard works better. It's going to break down. It's going to feed the worms as it breaks down. It's overall better. I'm probably going to have a problem with that plastic eventually because it's going to start to, I don't know. We'll see how it goes down the road with it. But I'm not generally a huge fan of using that. I think cardboard is just a better way to go in general. So, when do we start transitioning our summer garden to fall garden? So mid-July, we'll start broccoli and all that stuff, cabbage, cauliflower indoors. Mm-hmm. And then it'll start going outside once it gets cool enough at night. So once we start dropping down into the 70s and 60s again at night, we'll start looking at putting stuff outside again. It's probably going to be, it's usually the end of September or October here before we're really putting a lot of stuff outside. Unless it's something we still, there's some things that we call a fall, we have tomatoes in our fall garden because we have tomatoes that will start in July. And especially the determinants, Romas and stuff like that. So those will go out sooner. Same with beans. Beans are going to be part of our fall garden, but they'll be planted in August also. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Will vining tomatoes grow along a fence line? You'll have to help them, but for sure. They won't like grow up naturally like peas or beans do. But if you attach them to the fence as it grows up, that's awesome. I love it. Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Some herbs grow quickly. Basil grows fast.
Chives are pretty fast.
Yeah. But oregano, thyme, rosemary, sage, lavender, all of those like woody ones grow very slow. That's why you typically either buy them as a transplant or you can take a cutting off of one that's full grown and you can root that cutting. We've done a lot of videos on this in the past where we've shown that. Like one thing we like to do is take rosemary cuttings and root a bunch of those and give them out as gifts and stuff at the holiday time because it looks like a little Christmas tree. But they do take forever to grow. Cilantro is pretty fast too. What else is fast? Parsley's pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. I think I overplanted squash and cucumbers. Could I thin them out without losing too many plants? So yeah, I mean, we talked about this a little bit earlier about how we go about thinning. Like we really just take a tiny pair of scissors out and we cut the ones that are a little too close together. So that way we're not disturbing the roots or causing any issues like that. So that's what I would recommend doing.
All right, we got time for one or two more questions here.
Okay.
So tomatoes are still really small. Could be a couple of things going on. One is, I don't know where you are, but if it's still cold, that can definitely limit how much they grow.
I recognize the name. I think she might be you're in Oklahoma, I think. I think she was in Oklahoma.
She'll let us know in chat.
Yeah. She's still here. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Carrie, I've seen you post and I'm like, oh, it's another Carrie from Oklahoma.
So if you're in Oklahoma, then yeah, you're good to go on putting them out. You said you fertilized them already. It's nitrogen fertilizers that causes them to grow, and nitrogen moves to the soil. So I was going to say, like, if you didn't put the fertilizer down where you put the plant, but that really is more about the phosphorus, potassium, and calcium, and all that stuff. Nitrogen moves throughout quickly. You might try hitting it with some fish fertilizer to help spark it. I'm also curious what color green it is. Like, does it look good? Does it look like the right shade of green? Is it looking yellow at all? Is it looking purple at all, or any of that, like reddish? That can be an indicator as well. Hopefully that helps. She says yes. I think that means she's
for Oklahoma.
Okay. Yeah. Hopefully that helps.
Clay soil. Yeah.
The biggest thing you can add is compost. So compost is going to be the answer to everything when it comes to growing in the ground. Is just keep adding compost into it. You can also grow some things to help break it up. Like there are some varieties of radish that get really big, and also like turnips and stuff. And then that will help break the soil up. So that's something we've tried in the past, is if we had an area that we really wanted to grow in the ground, but it was just hard clay, we'd throw a bunch of radish seeds, and then that would start to help break it up. And then we come back the next year with compost and other things that root deeply. So it'll do some of that work for you.
Okay, she says they're a lighter green.
They're a lighter shade of green. Yeah, so another possibility is if they're getting too much water.
Yeah, that's... looky here.
Yep.
Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. So too much water will look a lot like not enough nitrogen, because when the plant gets too much water, it's not able to uptake nitrogen because it's flushed out, basically. So those can both result in yellow leaves. So if you're watering too much, back down on it. And if you're watering the right amount, give it some fish fertilizer.
We have been getting a lot of storms, so it's possibly it's possibly just rain.
Yeah, it's possible.
Especially somewhere that got like several inches in like one storm, like we did the other day.
All right, one more question here. When putting down the cardboard, you have to get Nope, that is the whole point of the cardboard, is so you don't have to do any of that, because Bermuda is very, if you have Bermuda grass, which a lot of people do in the country, it is very difficult to get rid of. Even if you try and dig it up, if you leave one little tendril or whatever it's called down there, it's going to sprout right back. So the easiest way that we have found to defeat Bermuda was to just cover the entire yard in cardboard and then a foot of wood chips on top of that, and it'll suffocate it all out. And in our old house, we lived in the city. We didn't have really any weed issues at all because that's what we did. So definitely recommend doing that.
Okay. Well, I know we're already over too. Wow.
Well, thank you so much,
Yeah.
everyone, for joining. Hopefully we got to your question. If we didn't, go to Growbot. Growbot has been very helpful for us lately too. And like I said, if you want to try out the new version of Growbot that lets you take a picture of things and ask it that way, let us know. Email us. Let me pull that up again one more time. Email us here at info@seedtospoon.net, and we will get you set up. Hopefully rolling this out to everybody within the next week or two, but just want to make sure we're doing the proper testing on all of this and making sure that we're getting it as solid as possible, so it's not giving you all bad advice. So
yeah, but we'll be back here same time, same place next Tuesday.
Yep,
so
talking all about microgreens next week.
Yeah, hopefully you guys will be here for the fun too.
Yeah, in the summer is typically we don't really get a lot of greens out of our garden because it's too hot. So we've really learned to embrace microgreens in the summer so that we can have greens for salads and wraps and stuff. So talking all about that next week. We've got a bunch growing in there right now that we're going to be showing. So we'll probably plant one next week too and show how we do that.
Yeah. We'll do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today, and hopefully we'll see you next week.